Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about all of the post Love Island drama.
And also the slightly less dramatic new show, Love Island Beyond the Villa.
Plus, some Bachelor Nation gossip. We are in the midst of BIP after all. So, a little housekeeping. If you haven't listened to our Bachelor in Paradise recaps yet, go back in the feed, check those out. This season has been different. It's been weird. It's been fun. We're really having a good time breaking it all down.
Also, over on Rich Text, reminder that we did put out an episode last week about Celine's songs Materialists. And coming later this week, we will have an episode about Lena Dunham's new Netflix series, Too Much. You can find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com.
So let's dive right in because we listened to a lot of Love Island cast podcasts for this, and we can't linger too much on the
No, oh my
housekeeping.
God. All of the Love Island podcasts are just intersecting with each other in my mind into one
It's a soup.
giant soup of like reality television gossip.
An intersecting soup.
Yeah, it's a stew. It's a
It's a
stew.
stew.
An intersecting soup. I don't know. My brain is clearly broken, okay? It contains too much knowledge
No,
about the cast of Love Island USA.
I love it. I want a t-shirt that says an intersecting soup. Bachelor Nation gossip first, I think. Let's get through
Yes.
some of this. There's not a lot that we necessarily wanted to touch on, but there has been already like a little bit of post Bachelor in Paradise drama just because unlike Love Island, they do film it in advance. And so they're all home and they're ready to beef with each other. And the main post Bachelor in Paradise beef has been between Justin and Lexi.
Oh
Be-
man, I mean, this was a dramatic situation. Things blew up very quickly between Justin and Lexi when Justin's ex, Susie, came to Paradise for 24 whole hours. And they got in like a little fight with each other in the Instagram comments.
yeah.
Justin wrote, I had no intention to lead anyone on. I was very intentional with who I pursued, but unfortunately, the same interest was not reciprocated for days, where I was then informed that this person being Lexi, didn't have interest in dating someone that didn't live where she lived, was unsure if we wanted the same things out of life. This part of the conversation wasn't shown, as well as telling me to pursue other women as she wanted to pursue other men prior to ending things with me. The conversation before the rose ceremony, which Lexi rekindles her interest with Justin, like the night of a rose ceremony. Back to the quote. Was the first time I received any sense of interest from her, and I found it concerning that all of the reservations from less than 24 hours ago were no longer there. Minutes before we lined up for the rose ceremony, I chose to self-sacrifice for someone I deeply care about, that being Susie, rather than take the chance of continuing to pursue someone who I didn't feel was genuinely interested in me. Hope you can try to understand it was a difficult situation to navigate for all parties involved. So he is basically saying that he truly thought Lexi's interest in him maybe wasn't really there, that ultimately he decided to give up his rose for Susie's sake because he just didn't really see anything else there for him with Lexi. And Lexi disputes some of this.
Yeah, so Lexi responded in the comments saying, what you're saying is simply not true and you know it. As someone who claims to value communication, I suggest you reflect on how you show up in that space because this narrative isn't it. I won't let you twist my words or rewrite my truth. We both know the reality of what happened. I genuinely hope you take the time to grow and heal so you don't repeat this kind of behavior with someone else. Wishing you clarity and accountability on that path. Please don't share my story or use my words that are simply not true. So they went back and forth a little bit. He was like, cameras were there. We saw some of this. It was literally said. And she was like, we all know what happened off camera and in LA, which I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I would
So
love
that's
to
not
know. Please
helpful to me.
say more.
So it seems like there are still very much hard feelings on Lexi's end for what went down in Paradise. Did this change your thoughts on the Justin Lexi situation at all?
Not really, because I just continue to see both of their sides on this. I think it was a difficult situation. I think that the Susie of it all didn't have enough time to cook. Like, I continue to maintain that the three of them should have had more time than 24 hours to like work this out.
I completely agree. I feel like this, there was a little brief explosion of drama created by putting this rose ceremony so soon after Susie's arrival. But is that really better than letting this storyline cook a little bit, let it braise, like let the different
Right.
notes get brought out by some time together by the pool? I really think that like you could have brought out a more complex dish in the end if you had not rush through these rose ceremonies. And I think what we see in the preview this week is that they're rushing the rose ceremonies so that they can end new arrivals and rose ceremonies very early in the season and turn to like couple challenges. And while I respect that they are trying something different, I think that there is a lot lost in rushing these rose ceremonies, including what happened with this storyline.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think maybe they need to take a little nod from Perfect Match and figure out a way to like marry the two
Yeah,
things, like the revolving door and
the
the challenges.
challenges.
Yeah, I think
Right,
they're
instead of going from one to the next in rapid succession. 'Cause
exactly.
I'm not ready for new arrivals to be over. I can't believe that we've
Well,
already
I think if
apparently.
you are going to have so few new arrivals, you have to really prioritize your top quality cast members.
And
And so
I
I
think
think
you should
that's what's
start
so
with more, to be
frustrating.
honest. You're not giving
Yes,
people
enough
really
options.
enough options to make connections, and then you can winnow it down once you get to the committed couple stage, if that's what you're going to. I mean, they're clearly going to do that as well, but we're starting with kind of not that many couples because so many people
And
are
none of
going
them
home every
include
rose ceremony.
Susie, Lexi, or Justin.
I know.
All three people that I think would be generally in like high
Yeah.
demand, I would really believe
Yeah.
want to be in a serious relationship. Like, I just
Yeah.
think that they burned through this storyline way too quickly. And it
Yeah.
obviously created a lot of confusion for the people who were like experiencing it.
Yeah. And I agree. This didn't really change my thoughts on what happened. I didn't think that either of them came off particularly badly. If anything, maybe Justin more because he sort of blindsided Lexi. He said in one of his
And
follow-up
Susie.
comments, and Susie. He said in one of his follow-up comments that he didn't have the opportunity to tell her before the rose ceremony that that was where he was leaning, and that, sometimes with filming, you don't always get to have every conversation you wanna have. That's possible, but that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth that he blindsided Lexi in that way. And at the same time, we did see Lexi really pull away from him and then only come back around right before the rose ceremony. And I think that while you wanna kind of protect yourself, that's not really playing the game. And I think maybe Lexi is just not quite cut out for this show, which does
Yeah, I would
involve a
agree.
little bit of playing of the game. Like, you should talk to other people for sure, but, like, to tell your strongest connection that you're putting them on hold and then talking to other people and then circling back right before the rose ceremony, that is a strategic blunder to some extent. It makes sense that he's gonna be a little more hesitant once you've told him that.
100%. I think both of them are generally seem to be pretty like thoughtful people. So I'm
Yeah,
sure they are both like bristling at feeling and being misunderstood. That is sort of what
yeah,
I'm reading here. And I
yeah.
just, I wish them both healing and clarity.
Me too. I hope that they are fully healed because if you're not fully healed, honestly, fuck you, Go back to your hole. Go back to your hole until you've healed.
I think we got to end this podcast right here. I'm not fully healed.
Oh, that is actually really true. Susie went on the Vile Files and discussed her experience on Paradise, which um, it seems like she had pretty much the experience that we all saw. She felt like really disappointed by her entrance, which was very underwhelming. She didn't get the slow-mo. She was sent down in the rain at a very
At
awkward
11
moment.
p.m.
Specifically, it seems like to create an awkward situation for Justin and not necessarily to optimize her own arc on the show. And she kind of got down there and was like, the pickings are slim. There aren't that many guys. Most of them are pretty locked in with someone. She was like, even Jeremy wanted to talk to me, but then he would go sit right back over with Bailey and like hold her hand. So it didn't feel like he
Yeah.
was super available.
It's not
And
really gonna make a girl feel like super chosen.
right. And she's like, Jonathan is a mutual friend of mine and Justin. So like there just weren't really people for me
Yeah.
to date. And she says that when she kept weeping, it was not so much that she was so upset about her situation with Justin, but also what we maybe weren't seeing is that she was going through the early stages of egg freezing, which can be sort of like hormonally disrupting and just like emotional,
I'm sorry. I really understood everything the minute I learned
right?
this. I was like,
Right?
also, oh my God, I can't believe that you went on this show while all those hormones are coursing through your body.
Extremely
That's
courageous.
disastrous. Yeah.
Extremely courageous. She's the
True.
bravest among
Hero.
us.
Hero, the goat. I love Susie.
And she also was like, I was also emotional because I realized I was going to have to leave because there was no one really there for me. And there was about to be a rose ceremony. And, she's like, we all wanted to stay. Like, maybe people don't always talk about it. Jonathan does, but most people don't talk about it that much. But people wanted to stay.
I
And so
mean,
it's hard to get
yeah.
down there and realize that you're going to go home in less than one day.
After like 13 hours.
You go
My
through all of
God.
this, you're like, maybe I'll meet my person, I'll have fun with my friends, and then you get down there and you're like, oh, none of that is going to happen. I'm going to have some emotional conversations with my ex and his new love interest, and then I'm going to go home without having fun or hanging out with my friends or meeting my person. She's like, no, this sucks. So I was sad. I think that makes a
That
lot of
really
sense.
seems fair. I love Susie. Justice for Susie. She's a
I know.
star.
She's like, I think the only plot they really had in mind for me was
That one.
disrupting Lexi and Justin's situation, and that is disappointing. So
That's super disappointing. And you can see that when she is offered Justin's rose. You can see the wheels
yeah.
turning and her being like, I don't want this. Don't want to be
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like she could have taken the rose, but I also
Agreed.
like there would have been guys coming in, right? She could have met someone new. At the same time, she's got to be thinking like, how will it look if I came in here and messed
Well,
things up for
exactly.
Lexi, right? Then I let myself be put into almost a villain role. Like,
Well,
oh, well, she could have
exactly.
said no to the rose. She
I
didn't have
think
to take
that
Lexi's rose.
I do feel like that's where the wheels were turning. That she
Mhm.
was like, I don't really want to be involved in like whatever storyline they are crafting here. So I'm just going to go home.
Yeah.
Also, she'd be like, great, I'm going to wait around so I can meet Sean.
Well, she didn't know it was going to be Sean. Maybe she did. Maybe they're like, no, stay. Sean's coming. And she was like, bye. I'm out of here. She says that the person that she thinks that they were describing to her to kind of lure her down there was Dale. Like, older, has a real job. Does he have I mean, I assume. I kind
I
of
think
thought they
that's
all
what they
had real
also
jobs.
told Jill. I feel like a lot of the cast members from like a little longer ago were all told like we're casting men who were on the show longer ago who have real jobs, and then it was just like Dale.
It was literally just Dale. uh, Dale's carrying the weight of women's hopes on his shoulders. Yeah, so she was like, obviously that wasn't going anywhere. So that's what I have on BIP that I wanted to discuss. Should we talk about some new gigs for some Bachelor Nation alums?
Yeah.
Some new
The Bachelor
shows.
Nation, the star Bachelor Nation alums are really morphing into their next phase of post-reality television gigs or post-Bachelor gigs.
Yeah.
One of the main paths that we are seeing now is to become a reality TV host, which makes a lot of sense. If you have like the charisma to pop on a show like The Bachelor, maybe become the lead, maybe have a podcast, like I get it.
You've proven yourself, you've come through the ringer, you've risen to the top, like the cream that is like skimmed off of the top of the batch. Remember when they had to like literally cast some random guy
Chris
to
Harrison.
Now you have to, if you want to be a TV host, you have to start by applying for a reality TV show, and then you work your way up. You star on several reality TV shows, you launch a podcast, you maybe start a small business, and then you can be cast as the host of a
Yeah.
reality dating show. So, first of all, we've got Nick Vile and his wife Natalie Joy, who obviously host the Vile Files podcast, and Nick was a multi-season star on the Bachelor franchise, and they are going to be hosting a show about age gap romance called Age of Attraction, coming to Netflix in 2026. Or maybe it just won't ever happen. You know, a girl can dream. Because
Yeah.
I do not want to watch a show about age gap, like about not just age gap relationships, like a
Engineering.
documentary, but like a dating show to create age gap relationships.
I
No, thank
really
you.
feel like what we are seeing is that they are running out of ideas. And they just want to, all the networks want to make so many reality shows because they cost less money and they are
Yeah.
less regulated. And so they are just trying to go more and more and more niche.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, what's a thing? Age gap. Age gap.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. It's age gap.
There's something about it that also feels like they're dancing around things in the same way MILF Manor did, which is like sexy mommy, but like, what if it's your friend's mommy? Or what if it's not your mommy or his mommy? Maybe it's just a much older woman. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're dancing around this sort of like the sort of mainstream porn obsession with like faux cest, and they're like that is getting channeled into this pop culture obsession with like age gaps.
I think that's such a good point. And also it's like they're dangling so much here, but there's not an indication that this show is going to even, like, you don't have to be in an age gap relationship if you go on this show. The way they describe it is that the daters are ranging from 22 to 59. So potential matches will see if age is just a number. Like, you could end up having people sort themselves into mostly like similar
Right,
age
which is like the most
relationships.
likely thing, because in the real
Yeah.
world that is like usually what happens. I guess, yeah, it's sort of a more of a gradual transition version of what they are doing right now with Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah. Exactly. So we have that. We also have Colton Underwood and Caitlin Bristow hosting a reality show about virgins called Are You My First? Again, we've reached it. There's too many.
It's
We're
coming
reaching.
out on Hulu, unless again it blessedly does not come out at all. I'm maintaining hope. It reminds me of when they did that show a while back, hosted by Kristen Davis, that was like this woman wants to find a man to be the father of her children and
Oh,
or her
yeah.
romantic partner. It's like I just don't feel like a reality dating game show should be involved in this kind of intimate
Decision making.
decision. Like, I don't
I
need to know
agree.
if you guys are going to be each other's first. Like, just, it's
Live
and I
your
think
life.
and I
Just
think
live
it
your life.
puts this weird amount of weight on the first person that you have sex with that I think is not something we need to play into.
Also on the construct of virginity
Yeah.
as like a entity. It's like, this is a real thing and it matters.
Yeah.
And we're gonna titillate the audience by having you like watch people bumble their way into it. Like, it's just,
Right.
it makes me uncomfy.
And as someone who my own youthful explorations were very much shaped by the concept of virginity and like the importance of my first, and like virginity as an important thing that I had until I chose to give it to the right person. I think that was not good for me. Like, I don't
You're like,
like seeing
didn't
this
like
culturally
that.
emphasized. And like somehow the combination of these two concepts it feels very conservative. Like, it feels like we are going like you see this discourse of men being like, we need to bring back like 18-year-old girls marrying established older men who are 52. Like, that's back when things were really good and like you could mold there's that discourse that I feel like the age gap relationship discourse often ends up playing into. And then there's this like emphasis on virginity and finding the right person to like give your virginity to, like a gift on a platter. Also feels very conservative. I don't like that this is the direction things are heading.
I agree. I
And
agree. I just don't think we needed either of these shows.
and that's not even getting into the fact that Colton Underwood is hosting it with Caitlyn.
I yeah. I mean also like why are we making Colton the poster child for like any of these things, but also specifically virginity
Right.
when like
Like it
they're I
I'm not
mean
I'm not saying that like Colton can never as a human like make amends, do his time, move on with his life. You know,
he should
he
and he
should
can.
and he can, but it if we cast so if we found out that someone was cast on a dating show who had the history of stalking and related charges that Colton did with his winner from his season, Cassie, then I think we would be like, why was he cast? He did it after he was like on the show. That doesn't mean that it's not real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because we already knew about it when he was cast, that doesn't make it not troubling. It makes
Yeah,
it
and there's
more
also just
troubling.
like
They
a
went into
lot.
it eyes open, being like, he has this history of like intimate partner, like stalking, and we're moving forward with having him host a dating show. I don't think that there's so many people who can host a dating show.
One would think, Claire.
One would think. I would think.
I would think.
From the Bachelor franchise alone, so many people who could host a dating show,
Also,
obviously.
if we're talking about virginity, obviously a lot of Colton's feelings about virginity were filtered through like religious and community suppression of his own sexual identity.
Right.
So that's also makes it sort of like an odd choice to like emphasize
Yeah.
that through his story. Like it just, I don't know. There's so many pieces of this that
I
make me
mean,
feel like uneasy.
maybe the whole show will be about people overcoming religious trauma in order to finally begin free and
I mean,
open
I
sexual
would actually
exploration.
enjoy that. Again, yeah, we don't know the, like the
uh,
tenor or the details of either of these
yeah,
series, but
I'm
it
just
just
like,
I think I was just like, wow, I'm really tired and I don't think we need this many
yeah.
new oddly niche dating shows.
Yeah. Top line reaction is just like, I'm not excited to have to watch these shows, but I do feel like because they're in our niche, we will probably end up watching them and I'm mad about it. That's how
At
I
least a little
feel.
bit. We also have Gabby Windy hosting Love Overboard, like an Alex Cooper produced show, which I think is also airing on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, isn't that one of the shows that they made up as a fake dating show
Yes.
on a season of Too Hot to Handle? And the answer is yes.
Yes, it literally is. No one, how are they going to cast for the show? Everyone's just going to be like, wait, am I going to be on Too Hot to Handle? I want to make out. So, no, I won't be going on this.
Yeah.
No, this is
So
what you
if
should do. They came up with so many great fake dating show concepts for Too Hot to Handle seasons. You just got to
you got to make them,
use that as a brainstorm.
I just love that shows get made now where the idea is just like virginity, age gap, and yacht. That's
It's
it.
true.
That's all you need.
I mean, if I'm going to pick one, it's going to be yacht.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, which dating show sounds appealing to me? The one that's on a yacht, obviously. And it's very escapist because if I were on a yacht, I would just be throwing up. And these people instead are going to be looking sexy and hooking up.
Claire would
So,
be in a corner with those like seasickness like glasses that go all the way around your face. You would look really hot.
oh, thank you. I think I could pull them off. Not everyone can.
I really agree. So yeah, those are the new upcoming dating shows hosted by Bachelor Nation alums. Adjacent to that, Ashley Iaconetti, who I think some people pointed out might have been a more natural host for a virginity dating show.
Dating show, yeah.
In fact, has a different kind of gig, which I think is incredible. She is going to be one of the Real Housewives of Rhode Island.
I mean, how many housewives can there be in Rhode Island, a famously tiny state?
I
You
think this is
gotta have
inspired.
Ashley. Yeah.
Incredible. I am just obsessed that she was like, yeah, Jared doesn't want to live in LA. We're moving our family back to Rhode Island. We're making a life there. And she still ended up starring in like a, nationally regarded reality franchise. This
Yeah,
is just an incredible, incredible step for
that's
Ashley
her
I.
power. That's the power of Ashley I also have to think that when whoever at Bravo was pitching a Real Housewives of Rhode Island, their pitch was just Ashley I Canetti lives there, and I'm sure we can find some other women too. Like
Yeah.
what other,
Yeah. Who
Rhode
else lives in Rhode
Island
Island?
housewives
Everyone's going to come for us,
Yeah, we're
Claire.
gonna find out.
Yeah, we're going to definitely find out. But I am excited. And
Me too.
so I guess I will have to watch at least the first few episodes of Real Housewives of Rhode Island.
Ugh, Ashley I back on my screen. It's
I'm
gonna be
ready.
amazing. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to be digging into all of the Love Island cast post-show podcast interviews that we can handle.
And we are back, and we've got to get into all of the post Love Island press rounds. Top line thoughts for me. I think that these people should have to be out of the villa for like minimum a week before they do any press.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps the mess going. Like the show continues.
It does, and I get it, and it's great for the network. It feels bad for me personally, and also maybe bad for all of the cast members.
I'm going to be honest, this seems like a response specifically to Huda's interview because most of them have been pretty chill.
No, it is specifically about Huda. I think
that they should
to be out of
Huda
the villa.
from going
I think Huda needed to sit with a therapist for like at least a week, process, go be with her daughter, then do some press.
Yeah, let's talk about Huda on Call Her Daddy, because I think my top line takeaway from that is honestly that Huda probably should never have been cast. Like I felt like I understood her better after listening.
Same.
But understanding where her behaviors come from does not mean that it's okay that people have to deal with them. And she just really does not seem like she is in any place to move past them based on where she is in her like life and her healing journey. And it's hard to listen to because she's not doing herself any favors with the way that she talks about her time on Love Island and the people who are in the villa with her. And I just feel like she was not prepared for sort of essential parts of being on the show.
I also feel like I agree. And I feel like she also was not prepared adequately by whatever handlers and like support staff they have, like to do major media after.
No, she's just doing Huda. I mean,
so the interview starts with like 40 minutes before they even get to the Love Island stuff, where Huda speaks like very extensively about her really like dark and upsetting childhood trauma. Just slight trigger warning here for abuse and also other forms of bullying. So skip over the next like 5 minutes if you don't want to hear our discussion of that.
Yeah, we're not going to get deep into it, but she does talk about it, and so it will be referenced. So she talks about having like a really difficult childhood. Her father was abusive. He physically assaulted her mom repeatedly when she was a kid.
Like she says that is her main formative memory of being a young child.
And eventually her mom moved her and her siblings out into an apartment. And after the split, she says that she felt her father acted inappropriately towards her and she ended up feeling unsafe with him. She doesn't get super specific about that, which is totally fair, but that's kind of the gist.
Yeah, there is like an implication.
They don't really have a relationship now.
Yeah, I think they don't speak now. She doesn't get specific, but she does say that she wouldn't say grooming, but
yeah,
it seems like something in that vein, to the point where she like called her mother and said like, I don't feel safe with dad and you need to pick me up immediately. Yeah. So that is like obviously very upsetting. She also speaks about being bullied in school and like experiencing racism when she was a kid from other kids at school, being called a terrorist. Obviously, she, when would Huda have been born? Like around 9/11? Like I think she maybe was born in
Mhm.
2001.
Yeah.
So she was growing up in that post 9/11 America.
Mhm.
And so it is not surprising to me that she experienced racism.
Yeah. Yeah, which is it's really heartbreaking and like it's honestly not surprising either that to learn that she had such a difficult childhood. I think without her having spoken about it, a lot of people were sort of speculating that she had some sort of very difficult situations in her childhood because of her behaviors, which a lot of them seem like maybe reactive or
Yeah.
some sort of coping mechanisms formed because of that, which like you can't really diagnose, but like it does seem to kind of make sense that those things would go together. Um, and so that's really sad. Like I she is still young and that's a lot to go through, and then to go through, being a single mom at a relatively young age and everything that goes along with that. It seems like she's had a tough time, and
Yeah. She also
having also
does.
been a huge mess when I was in my late teens and early 20s and, like, having a lot of bad relationship behaviors that were partially rooted in, I think, you know, wanting to get that kind of, like, security that I didn't have from my mom
Mm,
from a partner, like, and wanting to kind of like, you know, demand that kind of unconditional love and commitment from like a teenage boy who was not prepared to be that replacement figure. I felt like certain resonances with some of her behaviors because of that. And so that's why I was sometimes like hesitant to be too like you don't want to be like, oh well, she's just a evil person.
right. Right. Yeah. And as you said, it's like there is a way that you can have like deep empathy for someone and what they've gone through, and like also be concerned that perhaps those experiences and like where they're at on their healing journey has not made them adequately prepared to be in a situation like Love Island, which is like an inherently triggering setting. I think all reality shows are. They are like literally designed in order to make people melt down for
Yeah.
television. Like that is sort of part of the game. I mean, she also speaks about growing up in a really, really religious household,
Mhm.
and the way that like when she came to her mother and said that she was pregnant, her mom looked at her and said, "Well, don't sin twice."
Yeah.
So there's just like a lot there. She seems to have a very good like a pretty good relationship now with her mom, and obviously a great relationship with her siblings who we saw on
Mhm.
the show, but like there's a lot of there that clearly she is still in the midst of working through. As you said, she's only 24. So that is like the first big chunk of the interview. And then they go into the Love Island experience, and I think I was disappointed by the tenor of the conversation.
Same. And, like, Alex Cooper makes certain attempts at certain points to kind of push back on how Huda handles things, but there is a lot of, like, validating of Huda's
Yeah.
reactions, like, maybe more than they needed to be validated, and I don't think that Huda really came in prepared to take accountability beyond a very generic level. Like
Yeah.
she's willing to say like, "Oh, I made mistakes. I should have handled things differently." But there aren't a lot of specifics about where she went wrong because once you dig into specific situations, she tends to be more interested in what the other person did wrong and how that led her to the point where she reacted in the way that we saw and how rational that reaction was and how anyone would have reacted that way. Of course, we just wouldn't be on camera the way that she was. And so it's ridiculous for anyone to even really criticize that. Like that's where any specific discussion of any specific moment seemed to end up, which I found really frustrating because sure, I'm sure that like she was not the only person at fault in every scenario, but it doesn't really seem like she thinks she was actually really at fault in any specific scenario. She's just like, overall, yeah, I could communicate better. I could be more patient.
I also just think like it is understandable to have feelings of defensiveness. Some of those things are just things that you have to process on your own before you give an interview on like a major media platform,
Yeah.
right? Like there are some things that even if you feel them, it's not productive or helpful to anyone, including yourself, to like express every single one of those emotions in an interview. And I do think that people want to hear some true reflection, no
Yeah.
matter who it's from. Like when I listen to someone on a podcast talk about their reality TV experience, I always prefer to hear, even if they are making criticisms or adding context or defending themselves, some amount of reflection on their own behaviors and the ways in which they could have been better, and also grace for other people who are also in the difficult situation that they were in.
Yeah,
And I
there's
just
very
think
little
that
grace for
was,
other people in the difficult
yeah,
situations that they were in.
exactly. I think it was missing. And I think part of that is that it seemed to me as if she hadn't really watched back like almost any of the show. And so I
Mhm.
think it would have been very useful for her to have really like had to sit with more of what the audience was seeing.
Yeah. Well, I think part of what the situation they're also in is that they come out and there's what, 40 hours of the show?
And
That would
millions of comments.
that would take a week of full-time work to watch.
Right. And
And
this
they're
is why I
certainly
think they
not
need to
doing
sit
that
in a like in a,
in
like
a
a
padded room,
deprivation chamber
in a
for a
sensory
week.
deprivation chamber
Yeah.
with only a screen of
With
their bad
yeah.
behavior. Yeah, no, I do get that she hasn't had as much space to reflect, and also she hasn't had that information. But what frustrates me the most is that, like, everyone else was in the same situation as her. She keeps
Right.
saying, like, "Well, this was my first time being in this situation. Everyone has crashed out. It was just on camera." Well, Huda, everyone else in the villa was in the same situation as you, and you were the only one who was acting as toxic as you were the whole time, like, or for most of the
Right.
time. It's everyone makes mistakes. We saw other people make bad decisions. We criticized other people's choices. But a lot of them are also coming out and owning those things and saying, yes, I should have handled that differently. Jeremiah and Chris both took a lot of accountability in their interviews for things that they did wrong, or were very complimentary of Huda, or both.
And
And
that
she
was
has
not
nothing but
reciprocated.
blame and rudeness for the two of them.
Yeah. And that just really bummed me out. Like as I was listening, I also was just like, I'm always thinking about these people when I listen to their interviews. I'm like, do yourself a favor. Like
Yeah.
because I have so much appreciation and empathy for the like inability for the human body and mind to really receive the level of feedback that these people receive, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I think it's all a little bit hellish and dystopian. Even if
Yeah.
it's like universally good feedback, it's like too much for someone to process.
Yeah.
So
And it
I
takes a
do,
lot of courage and vulnerability to be messy on camera. And so I am always rooting for people who are messy to kind
have
of take the
growth.
opportunity to show that they understand the things that were messy and that you don't need to come at them, right? Everyone can calm down. They are also processing what they saw. And that's not what we see in this interview. Like when she talks about Jeremiah's relationship, one of the things that struck me the most was that she is still clearly really bothered that he kept saying he would step up and do more to pursue her and never did. And Alex asks her if she reciprocates that. And Huda is basically like, well, in real life, when someone's been showing me for days and days and days on end that they really care about me and are showing it with their actions, then I'm the most supportive partner. Okay, but you expect Jeremiah to do that on spec, right? You're not going to do it on spec, but he should.
There's
That's a double standard. And
there
like
is a double standard
I think part
there.
of what I see in her is that like she has this traditional view of relationships that she thinks it's going to protect her if the man has to put in a lot up front to win her over. And then she's like, I love to cook for him. I love to clean for him. So you want a man that's setting up a dynamic where a man is love bombing you and coming on strong to win you. And then once he gets you, you're going to be doing everything for him. And what if you were instead mutually building a relationship of support and care from the beginning? I think that would be so much better for you. But she has this idea that it's got to work in this way where he puts in everything up front and then she puts in everything on the back end.
You're so right. And it is like clearly a defense mechanism of like, well, if they're so obsessed with me
Mhm.
and they're so invested in me, then like that will protect me. And instead, yeah, it just creates a situation that can end in like deeply, deeply toxic ways, as it seems, as her relationship with Jeremiah did, and also as it seems like a good handful of her past relationships did.
And also with Chris.
And also with Chris, so to a significantly lesser extent, thank God. But
And she says Jeremiah love bombed her, which, I mean, is believable to me. Like, from what we saw, like, he was doing things early on to feed into this idea that he was really all in on her from very early on. And she says, we didn't see as much of it from him, but he would watch her when she was talking to other men. Like, and we did see that he was very anxious that she was interested in other men. But Huda, you were doing the same
well,
stuff.
that's the thing is, again, the grace was missing because
Right.
I think even at the time we said they are mutually responsible for this toxic dynamic. They both fed into it. But if you are being interviewed, all you can take accountability for is what you did.
Right.
And like, if you want others to give you grace, then maybe you should give some grace to them. Like, you are not an evil person. So maybe extend that to like the people that you were involved with or that you had conflict with.
And she seems mad that Jeremiah like isn't defending her in interviews, that he's laughing when people say bad things about her. I think she's probably just seeing clips. But I have to say,
so.
From what I've seen of Jeremiah's interviews, which I have to admit, I did not circle back to listen to the full interviews, but I saw
There's
some pretty
also been many. We couldn't.
right, and that was a while back because he left a while back. But I saw some pretty extensive clips of him talking about Huda, and I was like, oh, he's actually taking more accountability than I expected. He's talking about how he fed into this dynamic. He's talking about how he didn't communicate well, and Huda's sitting here now saying, I would never talk about like the way that he's talking about me or laughing at me. I think that's so messed up. I would never do that. She's been much more negative about Jeremiah in this interview than he was about her. And so again, there's that like lack of ability to give grace and have some self-awareness here.
Yeah. And it definitely felt like the same dynamic with Chris. Like, her resentments towards Chris were definitely bubbling up, even though she said some nice things about him. But like in his interviews about her, like when he went on the Vile Files, I actually thought he was like quite kind and generous about her. And did defend himself to an extent, which fair game for anyone to do that. But I do think he extended a lot of grace. And like, again, that just wasn't reciprocated.
Yeah, he mostly had very kind things to say about Huda. And a lot of it was shown in the sense of saying like, she was going through a lot. She was triggered about this trauma. She was so funny. She was so cool. Like a lot of really positive things to say about her. And then there were certain situations where he was like, I didn't think it was okay for her to talk to me like that.
That
and
seems fair.
that seems fair to me. But there was overall a pretty positive tenor towards Huda. And mostly what she seemed to have to say about Chris is that every mean or controlling thing she said to him was justified because he would say things to her like, shut up, which is bad. But when she was saying rude things to him, she was just joking. And so that was fine because it's just jokes. Maybe it comes off as rude, but she's joking, but he can't say shut up to her. She didn't like that he had a wandering eye, which like I thought you were exploring. And it was just,
what do you mean?
like one thing he says is she always encouraged me to talk to everyone, but apparently
Which
she's
she
like
said
keeping
too.
score that he shouldn't have actually been talking to anyone. She says that the countdown in bed was her last resort, and she tried everything else to get him to talk to her. And then she's like, well, I guess I could have just let him alone. Yes, you could have just left him alone and talked in the morning.
And he says that that was a night where they were only going to get about 2 hours of sleep. And he was like, I needed to sleep. And,
Yeah.
yes, he clearly was like ignoring her, even though he was awake. That is very annoying.
Yeah. She's also
She still
mad that
shouldn't have counted
no,
down. That was not okay. Like, right? Like, both of those things cannot be good.
right. And she's also mad that he told people that they had sex. I personally only remembered him telling his one friend,
Brian.
Brian, and like in a very low key way. Maybe I'm misremembering them. There were more times when he talked about it.
I think
Um,
it was just that, as far as I saw.
like he can't even say like one thing to his friend about the relationship. Like she would not feel any compunction. Like we've seen her share so many things about her relationships to her friends. And then she's like, "Well, he's telling everyone like, "Oh, we had sex and this and that," and he didn't even really put it in and not because I couldn't take it." Like
Huda,
like
stop. We didn't need that.
stop. Just stop.
Just stop. Just stop. That's by the end of the interview, I was just like, just stop. Just stop talking. And I
Yeah.
wanted Alex, honestly, at times, I was like, cut her off.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, a
do
couple
her a
times she has
favor.
because once I remember Alex was trying to set up a question about Huda's um responsibility or her need to take accountability for something, and she sets it up by being like, "Well, sometimes we felt like your feelings were valid like when this happened." But and she's going on to to try to press her about her reaction, and Huda just takes it and runs with it. She's like, "Right? Can you believe he did
Right.
that? Like anyone would react the way I did because like what are you talking about?" And Alex was like, "No, but I was actually trying to say you shouldn't have reacted that way." Yeah, the one thing that I think I did really agree with from the conversation about Chris is that she does believe that he was trying to get her to be the one to break up when he was not really feeling her anymore, and I do agree with that, even though he
I
continues to deny it.
do
I'm
too.
like, "You were very
Chris, come
strongly
on.
giving, I
Chris,
don't like
Chris,
her anymore."
Chris.
Yeah,
That was just clear.
yeah. When Alex asked her about how an ex-girlfriend or someone who claims to be his ex-girlfriend has said that he is like cold and passive aggressive in relationships. And Huda's like, "Yep, yeah, definitely." Like everything is just very harsh. Like the tone is very blame casting and negative. And
And we know she wouldn't appreciate if they were speaking about her in that manner.
no, because they're giving much more mild criticisms and defenses of their own behavior. And she is reacting very strongly to that.
I was like, "You guys, just all do yourselves a favor." Huda mostly, because she's basically the only one not doing it. But like, just be nicer than you think you
Right.
need to. It's never gonna be a bad thing for you to be nicer than you think you have to in public.
Right. Like you can get in there and explain and give context to some of your behaviors. And yeah, it's true. I think most of us have crashed out at some point. Not necessarily everyone, but when you loudly ranted to everyone, including your partner at the time, that he is a pussy ass bitch and yours just happened to be caught on camera, everyone's done that. I mean, no, not everyone has done that. And it's okay to not want your partner to speak about you that way, actually. It's
Yeah.
completely okay to not want that. And so you need to be able to also sit with, like, I shouldn't have done that. That was not okay. And then there's the stuff about the rest of the Islanders. And this is where things get a little messier with the off camera or off mic consequences because the way that she talks about her overall experience in the villa makes it sound like she had no friends or support in the villa at any point. She says she felt bullied in the villa. It reminded her of what she went through growing up. She was isolated. She says that she had to constantly talk to the show like psychologist because there was no one else for her to talk to. And given that as viewers we did see the other women and Taylor like talking to her and supporting her through some of these
Right.
situations, it felt very pointed that she would continue to say she never said like, "Oh yeah, I had Olandria, but like at times, when it was tense, I really felt like I couldn't even talk to her." It was like I had no one. I never had anyone. I was
Right. And
alone.
then she later says, "Oh, I was very close with Amaya and also Nick and Alandria." And she
Okay,
also says Taylor, was a good friend to her. So it's like, well, then you
Right.
did have people.
But
Like
the moments
both
when she mentions that are so much more sparse and low
right.
key than when she is portraying it as though these people were basically bullying her the entire time and she had no one on her side. And then to throw out like, oh, Alandria and I are close. Okay, but you're making it sound like she was part of a cabal of evil women who harassed you for the whole summer. So what do you mean? Like, was she there for you in any capacity or not? It's like the victim narrative, like, overwhelms any sense of, like, times when the other people in the villa might have been there to support her. She can't even recognize that because she's like, "But
Right.
I felt bad. I felt bad, and so
Right.
that no one was there for me." We saw them being there for you. We saw them voting for you to save you. We saw
And you can
them
say like
talking you through conflicts.
I felt isolated at times. But you again, you need to be careful with your words. Your words have meaning and you need
Right.
to like create a balance and paint the whole picture. And instead, she's like burning through relationships post show that I was like, I don't even think that she's trying to. I think she's
Yeah.
just being really careless.
Because then Chelley and Olandria unfollowed her after this came out. And we don't know entirely everything that goes on in those relationships, but it seems quite
It's
plausible
telling.
that they were hurt after everything they had put into giving her second chances, talking her through tough times, like trying to be there for her, that she would imply in any way that they were bullying her. And especially when I think Shelley and Alandria have been facing a lot of, racist backlash from the audience and being called mean girls and bullies for like pretty minor things. And to play into that by being like, yeah, I was the victim
I
and no
know.
one was there for me, I can see why they would be very hurt by that.
It was just really disappointing. And again, I think it was a lot of carelessness.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it also betrays like a misunderstanding of like you came out with like 4 million followers. You have to then take on the responsibility of understanding that those followers might act in really like out of pocket, cruel ways on your behalf. And you need to be extra careful
Well, she's
with your
noticed the
words as a
followers.
result.
She thinks that's why some of the Islanders are being nicer to her.
I mean, that might be partially true.
They might be afraid, I mean, to be honest, but
Also true.
I mean, we have seen how the perception of America's favoritism can kind of shift those social dynamics.
Also,
I'm
just
sure
like
that's
from
true.
talking to other people who have been on reality TV shows that aren't Love Island, like I think there is something that happens in the aftermath of a show where your social media following like sort of can sort people into tiers, not
Yeah.
even like consciously. And I think it's like a very human thing. So
Yeah. But it kind
that
of
might
feels
be
like what
partially
what
true,
happened is that she
but
got out and she saw that she had all these fans who believed that she was in the right in all of these scenarios and that everyone was being unfair to her. And so,
she took that and ran.
yeah, it feels like she was like, "Oh, I thought that I was in the wrong at points. I thought that I was crazy at points, but in fact, the viewers were seeing the same things I saw, and so I was actually right the whole time. And everyone who ever questioned my behavior was like doing me wrong in a sense."
Yes. And that is just not helpful. It's not helpful to her and like her. It's not helpful for her relationships. It's actively harmful to them. It's
Yeah.
not helpful for her own like journey of growth and healing and wanting to be like a stable, secure person who's in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing made me like really sad. And I think after listening to this interview, I just started to get really, really like I was already on the verge of getting very bummed out by all of the discourse surrounding the show. And this just really put me over the edge. I was like, this is depressing as fuck. I
Yeah.
don't want to watch these people be mean to each other and lash out at each other. I don't want to watch the audience do that on their behalf. Like,
Yeah.
it just started to make me feel icky. I was like, this is not fun.
Yeah. And I hate to like say this because I have like felt for Huda. I've related to her, but I kind of feel like she's the problem. Like, I feel like if you'd surgically removed her press tour, you would not feel that way.
That is very, very true, possibly. I think I
Because I
would
listened to,
still
like, Amaya,
feel
I listened to Chelley and Olandria on Keke Palmer, and I was like, "This is so fun, like, I love this." Even
I
though it's
agree.
shaped by the negativity that they're responding to and a lot of the backlash, which we'll discuss, but, like, it still is, like, good vibes, and they seem, like, fun to hang out with. And this is the central, like, storm, this Call Her Daddy interview with Huda that just makes me feel extra
No,
gross
you're
about
so
all of
right.
it.
This is the thing that makes me feel extra icky. I think I was already feeling that way, not because of their press, like the cast members' press tour, but because of the audience.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's
I think I
true.
was feeling really icky about the extremely out of pocket behavior I have witnessed on social media coming from like all ends and like all kinds of different stands and like opposing factions. That's made me feel like really uncomfortable and like frankly worried for all of the cast members. And
Yeah, it's
then
not
this
healthy.
interview put it over the edge, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is just going to fuel so much more hate like towards Chelley and Olandria on allegedly on Huda's behalf, towards and like Jeremiah and Chris, and then also I knew, oh, people who already don't like Huda, this is going to like fuel that like times
Mhm.
100. I was just like, I just my heart is
Yeah.
starting to hurt a little
Yeah,
bit.
it just doesn't feel good, and I never watched season 6, but as I was telling you before we taped, I watched a couple episodes at your recommendation, to prepare for our discussion later this episode of Beyond the Villa, and I was just really struck by how much a lot of these people were just like having big reactions, yelling at each other, being out of pocket, and then like mending things. And I do
Hmm.
think that there is a certain amount, both that we need to see that from the cast. Like, I think that Huda struggled to mend things effectively. And part of what we see, like, you see why maybe she doesn't necessarily have a lot of friends, is because there's a lack of awareness about a lack of consideration about what her friends need to feel appreciated for the work that they put into the
Yes.
relationship. She's not thinking like, "Oh, in this moment, I should make sure to point out, like, how they were really there for me." It doesn't occur to her. She kinda throws them under the bus without even a second thought. And so that's lacking from some of the cast, but it's also, I think, the more that we see this outsized fan reaction to each time that we see maybe Alandria do one thing that we don't like, we can't just be like, "Oh, I didn't like that. I didn't think that was the right move." Suddenly, there's like a whole giant narrative that everyone is discoursing about, like, she's actually a mean girl. And, there's like BuzzFeed is saying that Shelley needs to eat a knuckle sandwich
Somehow
because
I
she
had
didn't do the
missed
perfect
this
thing, and that, like, they need
completely
the I know, crazy. I didn't see
awful.
it until much later. I saw, coverage of it and the backlash to it. Like, crazy that they published that. But if we have this kind of outsized reaction to the people on these shows lashing out, having big conflict, not handling every situation in what you might think is like the ideal healthy way, then we're not going to see future casts being willing to get messy. And if anything, I think this season was a little restrained. People were being very careful, and it still didn't protect them from this kind of huge
It
backlash.
made
And
it
that's
worse.
scary.
I think it
Yeah.
made it actually in a way worse
But
because
it's
we
only
didn't
going to
get to
perpetuate people acting so careful. Like, people need to be able to like
100%.
scream at each other on these shows and then be like, "I'm so sorry. You're a wonderful person." I was just really upset.
Yes, and I think we talked about this a little bit during our coverage of the season where it's like there is a tension that is going to build when people are living on top of each other for 2 months.
Mhm.
And like that is just sort of inevitable, and there needs to be an ability to let that steam out. There needs to be an ability to like explode a little bit. And I think that the conflicts were delayed so much in so many ways, like between especially the friendship ones until
Mhm.
later in the season because they were all trying their best to like lock their emotions and their frustrations down. And yeah, it didn't help. And as you're saying, it's a very human instinct to want to do that, because I also would go on one of these shows, be aware of the backlash that I could receive, and want to behave in the perfect way. And that both
Yeah.
makes for like a worse show, a less authentic experience, and ultimately just like delays the fallout of these frictions. It doesn't do
Yeah.
away with them.
But I think when they have these moments of fallout, it's almost our responsibility as an audience to let it happen. Like
Yeah.
when I see these like sudden coalescing narratives around like, well, this person is a bad person because they had this one meltdown. Not even a pattern. Like was a problem, I think, honestly, in the villa. It's still not helpful to like send waves of hatred at her, but I understand get kind of being over that as a character on your show. But some of these people just had like one or two moments that were icky or uncomfortable. And it's just like the response is relentless. That's not productive. Like I want people to feel like part of what we want to see from them is the conflict, is the hashing things out. And anyway, I do feel like ultimately my takeaway is that unfortunately Huda should not have been cast. Huda should probably be in therapy. Like I do want the best for her, and it seems like she's been through an enormous amount, and I don't think that she was prepared for the show. And when they do the screenings, I think that they should have caught this personally. Like
Yeah, I
that's
think
upsetting
I
to
think
me.
you're probably right. The other thing that I've been feeling is just about like the tenor of the fan response is something that I also noticed when Trump 1.0 was going
Mhm.
on around the Bachelor fan discourse. And it feels like in these moments of like
Mm,
incredible political upheaval, in when we as a culture feel like incredibly helpless at like the horrors that are being perpetuated in our name or being done to our communities or being done around us, and we feel that like we can't control them, those angers, frustrations, hurts get funneled into places that we feel we can control. And I think that reality TV is like a really easy outlet for that to happen. And
yeah.
so I think the like way that people are projecting certain like societal inequities, or like the weight of a societal inequity onto an individual behaving badly on a reality show. I do think that explains for me, like, to an extent of like what we are seeing, because I'm seeing a
Yeah.
lot of like very intense narratives being placed at the feet of these individuals. Um, you know, and yeah, I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm picking up on something that is like it's hard.
Yeah.
None of these people are equipped to like bear the weight for like all anti-blackness or like all anti-Semitism or all Islamophobia, or,
Yeah.
like it's just too much. And at the same time, I understand why we as a culture are feeling so like frustrated, helpless, depressed. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what I can do is like hold Sierra accountable for her racial
Yeah.
slurs. Like
Yeah.
I can't hold Donald
And I
Trump
can keep holding her
accountable.
accountable. Yeah. No, it's true. I think that is really well observed. I think that we felt a little bit of like a letting out of that heightened tension during Biden's term.
Yes.
Like honestly, that there was less of an anxiety about working all these issues out through the medium of reality TV. And like as given what our show has always been about, like I'm sure we fueled this at times. And like I do think about that. Like, how can we use these shows to talk about these really important questions of how these values and dynamics affect people in dating situations, affect relationships without turning these individual civilians essentially into like the scapegoat that all of that
Exactly.
gets worked out on is tough. Like, I wanna be able to critique, and we wanna be able to hold, like, Sierra accountable. We wanna be able to critique when when people are behaving in ways that are toxic or that shouldn't be replicated or um, that sort of thing without it turning into something that like completely destroys them. Because what
Yeah.
we want to really be talking about is not this one person is the cause of all evil. It's about how they represent currents in our society that none of us are immune to, really.
Right. We have a hard time, I think, talking about the narrative that we're seeing or like individual behavior and how it is indicative of like a wider societal issue without, again, laying all of the responsibility for that thing at the feet of this like 25-year-old. And that doesn't let these people off the hook for their bad behavior in any way. But we need to be able to strike a balance. And that's definitely something that I think we have struggled with finding the right way to do over the years. And I don't know that there's a clear answer, but I do think it's good for like
Yeah.
all of us to just have that in the back of our heads as we are like talking about and posting about these shows.
Yeah, 100%. And again, just like having grace for people on these shows to act imperfectly, and we can make fun of it and critique it, but they leave space for growth with each other. They leave space for reconciliation. And I think as an audience, we should as well. And that's, I think that's our soapbox about this. I don't know. We've both
That
just been
is.
like having a lot of like uncomfortable feelings about the way this season has played out in like many different dimensions.
Like
And
every direction.
yeah, and I have a lot of also like critiques of my own coverage of the season and a lot of questions about how I could have handled it better at different points. Because I'm also not immune from a lot of these biases and
Of
dynamics.
course. None of us
And
are.
yeah, and so I do feel like at times I went too hard on certain things or wasn't aware enough of certain, racial dynamics or gender dynamics even. I still get sometimes, to a place where I am reacting too instinctively and I'm not being considered enough. And so this season has just made us like reflect a lot on the state of
Yeah,
reality
on
TV
our
and on
and
ourselves.
on our and on ourselves, and I think we can all grow and change and do better. And I wish that for like everyone to have space to do that as an individual, and also, to find some hope for this
Yeah.
culture in this moment. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll touch on a couple other Love Island podcasts, and also get Claire's reactions on watching Love Island Beyond the Villa and meeting our season 6 cast for the first time.
And we're back. So should we talk about a couple of the lighter hearted podcasts just
Yes,
briefly, just as a palate cleanser?
like
Um,
Amaya.
like Amaya.
Amaya on Call Her Daddy. You're just like, wow, Amaya is so Amaya.
She's so Amaya. A lot of the episode was Alex Cooper just squealing and being like, "I'm obsessed with you" whenever Amaya says something, which I mean, she's speaking for the audience. The audience is definitely obsessed with Amaya. She comes off just so much like she did on the show. It
Yeah,
seems like it's
100%.
truly just who she is. Very charming, very funny, very high energy, full of quotable phrases. But some insights that we got, she's feeling really good about her relationship with Brian. They're making plans.
Love it.
She's like, we're not even really long distance. Boston is not that far from me in New York. I have family there, so we're feeling good. And also, like Huda, she does express that she felt misunderstood in the villa, and it's been very validating that America saw what she saw. And it's funny, she does do some of the same, like, I shouldn't have apologized to Zach K. Like, yeah, like because Alex is like, I wish you hadn't apologized to him. And she's like, yeah, I actually thought it was nice that she apologized
Me
for
too. We like to
swearing
see
at him.
growth. We like to see reconciliation. It's
Yeah.
allowed. It should be
Um,
encouraged. But overall, this was just like a really fun
yeah.
listen. I didn't
Yeah.
feel icky after listening to it.
Mostly she does say that she noticed people acting differently towards her after they realized that America liked her, which,
So did we.
yeah, everyone did. And so I'm not surprised she noticed that because the decision that she made to kind of focus on Brian, even though she was being very polite to Zach, Kay pursuing her again, I was like, "Okay, she sees what's
She's
happening."
clocking it.
But she doesn't, like, really go at people in the same way. She's like, "Yeah, I
No.
had hard times. It was hard coming in. I cried a lot after her initial conflict with Ace. She cried at night. She cried all the time. She felt kind of alone." But she does not, like, go at the women in the same way
She doesn't
for
really. No, she's
yeah.
overall very gracious and kind, and she seems to be on good terms with like pretty much everyone.
Yeah, she and Huda seem very close,
Definitely.
and she
And
does
she's
kind of
also
take
though
up
on good
for
terms with like
yeah,
Nick
with a
and
lot of people,
Olandria. She
and
was
I
at
think sh
Hannah's birthday. Like I think
yeah.
everyone's pretty much good with Amaya.
She says, they ask her like, one telling moment I thought was when they asked her about the challenge, the heart rate challenge and what Huda did with Ace. There are differing accounts on this. Some people have basically said that she twerked on his face, she sat on his face. Huda was like, "No, I was just like it was my butt was, like, on his stomach. It wasn't on his
Yeah, and
face."
Chris also said he didn't think that things
Yeah.
went too far. So who
Amaya
knows?
says but Amaya strikes
A
a
balance.
balance. She's like, "I didn't think that Huda was wrong necessarily, like, I don't think she should have been attacked because it was a challenge, but I did understand why Chelley felt the way that she did." So she kinda, like, validates both of their positions in a very tactful way, and I was like, very that was, like, the perfect politician's answer. I was very impressed.
I was like, more of them should learn maybe to be a Huda. I'll be a little more political in your answers.
Should we talk about, Chelley and Olandria?
Yes.
They went on Keke Palmer's podcast.
I loved
This
this.
was really fun. They talk about their relationships. Chelley says that Ace is her man. They're together all the time. I feel like really shortchanged from like fully seeing that relationship develop on the show. It seems like they're really good now, and I'm looking back, I just don't feel like we saw that much of it coming to
No,
be.
it was that unfortunate thing where I feel like we only really started to see it after the vote had already happened where they were going to be sent home. And I
Right.
think a lot of the audience was like frustrated by that. We were like,
It was
no,
almost
now
like
we
they
get
weren't
it.
really together, they weren't really together, and then it was like, now they're having a circular argument about whether they're closed off. Anyway, they're happy now, and I'm happy for them. I do think they have, like, very similar energies, and they
Agreed.
always seemed, like, kind of well suited in that sense.
I'm
Oh,
also just always rooting for like any couple that comes off of these shows. I'm like, yes,
yes,
yes, I would
love.
love you to make it. Alandria says that she and Nick are still very much interested in each other and they are like trying to move their relationship at a healthy pace. I thought it was really interesting that she acknowledged that there was this like big weight of like public pressure on
Mm,
them and that it seems like she and Nick have been really good supports for each other through that and been able to kind of dial in and say like we want to explore this relationship in a way that feels like very genuine to us. And um I think the biggest treat for me of like the post Villa content blitz has been getting to see more moments of Nick and Alandria and them having like more space to really like be in that relationship outside of, you know, the weight of cameras and like a narrative being put on them. And I think their trip to Disneyland looked really romantic and I was super
it
into
did.
it.
I mean, something that Iris and Pepe also talk about in their Files interview, which I otherwise will not be bringing up because it was so boring, I'm sorry, is that it the edit really made it seem like things moved much quicker after that, moment where TJ went home and Sierra went
Yeah.
home at a similar time. It made it seem like that all moved much quicker than it did, and there was a period of grieving and a period of feeling things out and being like, "Well, should we just support each other, or is the support turning into something more?" Like, it
Nick
makes
said the
it
same
feel
thing
very
during his
fast. Yeah.
yeah, Nick said the same thing during his Chicks in the Office interview and that was like clarifying to me because certainly as an audience member it did feel almost immediate and I think that was
Yeah.
like it was a little bit of whiplash as a viewer who
Yeah.
wants to like spend time buying into a romantic narrative.
Yeah, I think part of what went wrong with the season was on the production and editing level because I don't think that we were seeing what we needed to see to buy into these friendships and couples. Like we were
I
seeing
agree.
stuff, but I'm like, it wasn't the right
Was it the right
stuff.
stuff?
Like I need to see, and I think partly with Nick and Sierra, or with Nick and Alandra, it was because they didn't want to linger on Sierra's absence. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, the result was that I didn't, we didn't really see that arc for them in the same way. And with Iris and Pepe, I just don't think that they were interesting enough to get much screen time. I'm sorry, you seem like lovely people. You
They
really
seem
do.
so lovely. Again, rooting for you, always rooting for
Totally.
everyone. I just won't be spending that much time thinking about you.
Yeah.
We also I like loved that Keke I think Keke Palmer was like the perfect person to
Oh,
be in
yeah. She was great.
conversation with Chelley and Olandria. They addressed the like racist backlash that they both received and
Hmm.
kind of the weight of grappling with that and how difficult that has been for both of them. And they also just got into some like specifics about their Love Island experience that we hadn't gotten to hear before. Like Alandria spoke about why she kind of initially wrote off Nick as a romantic option, which I thought was really interesting and made a lot of sense. She says that she didn't expect to be Nick's type, even though she kissed him in that very first like choice ceremony, that very first coupling. But she said she just kind of thought, oh, I'm probably not his type because she said guys who look like him where she's from in the South are, quote, more traditional.
Yeah.
Racist is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing there.
Yeah. No, that was interesting to hear her talk about, and then, it adds a little more context to, um, the way that she's like, "Oh, I did notice that he kept, like, pulling me for challenges, but, like, I didn't really."
I sort of wrote it off. And then it just
Yeah.
seems like both she and Nick are the type of people that are like, well, I'm going to give the relationship I'm in like the best shot possible, which makes
Yeah.
sense to me. And so she was
Yeah,
like,
and
once
also
I was
they were
locked in
close
on
with each other's
Taylor,
connections, right? Like, she's like, "I felt
right.
like Sierra had been there for me, Taylor had been there for Nick, like, we weren't gonna step on each other's toes." I also thought it was interesting, like, I had also been like, "Well, she keeps saying she likes country men, and that's not Nick, like, maybe he's not her type." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's more about how countrymen are raised in a certain way to be gallant to women, basically open doors, like do little things for them. And that's really important to me." And like Nick does that. Like the minute that they got together, he was like, "I'm going to look after her. Like I'm always going to be there to like help her down the stairs and like make her breakfast." So like I do feel like maybe they are more aligned in what her type is than I had understood from the sort of country boy thing.
Yeah.
So
No,
that
I
was
think you're right.
interesting. I don't know, I'm starting to now I'm gonna be sad if they break up.
Stop. They're not breaking up.
They're
Don't
not
put that
breaking
into
up.
the universe. We need good news
Good
now.
news. Oh, this was interesting. Shelley is, like, the only person that I've heard from in the press circuit say that she's talked to Sierra.
And I do wonder if this is because Shelley left the villa earlier. Because it sounds
Mm,
like when Shelley left, like she saw that Sierra had DM'd her.
right, and Olandria was like, "My DMs are insane," so
Yeah, she's like, I basically like haven't checked to see if like she did reach out to me.
yeah, so that she says they had some sort of interaction or conversation. Sierra said she missed all of them and like hates what had happened and also apologized. I think, and like, it kind of was like, I'm working on myself
Yeah.
and trying to get my head right. And Shelley says on the podcast, like, everyone's human. She wouldn't wish what's happening to Sierra on anyone. And she hopes it's like an opportunity for growth and learning. And that's like kind of the only, like, it seems like none of them are really interested in connecting with Sierra, which I completely understand for multiple reasons.
Yeah. It also just seems like all of them also understandably are so overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
Like they are just trying to like
Yeah, some of them
exist day
haven't
to
even
day.
talked to, like, I think Pepe said he hadn't talked to Hannah yet and he like wanted to, but things are just happening so quickly. We know that Iris had that closure conversation with TJ because they were filmed by TMZ, but a lot of people hadn't really gotten to that point yet. Nick has said, I think, on his big interview that he wasn't necessarily planning to reach out to see
He
her or
said
hadn't
he's
really thought
still
about it.
processing if
Yeah.
he's going to reach out to her, but it's unclear if he has interest in even having a conversation.
Yeah. It's just such a weird situation the way that she left so late in the game with that hanging over it. So
Yeah,
um I can understand why a lot of them, even if they were close to her at this point, are like, I don't want to touch that.
yeah,
So it was surprising to me that Shelley even said that she had. And I also thought we got some good insights into Olandria's relationship with Taylor. Um, I think that Taylor caught a lot of heat because the audience knew that he had said that he wasn't attracted to Olandria. And I think that really made it feel like he was stringing her along, and that I think he
100%.
I still kind of feel like he was, and I also didn't like the way that he spoke to Olandria after at the Stand on Business challenge. I thought she had every right to take issue with how he handled things, and for him to be like, "How dare you expect me to keep you here?" was rude. I still don't like that. But she's like, obviously, I was seeing signs of interest that were maybe not shown. Like, he was doing so much for me. He was planning things for me. He was so supportive. He seemed really interested in me. And I wouldn't have kept pursuing him. It maybe look to the audience like, why is she still going after him when he's clearly not interested? That's not how it seemed to me at all. And I didn't see that he said he wasn't attracted to me. All I saw was all these nice things he was doing for me and what a nice guy he was. He was a great friend, which we did see a little bit of, that he was a great friend to a lot of the people in the house. So I can understand why he was a big favorite in the house. But then the viewers, having seen these one or two details, it kind of shifted their perception of their
Yeah.
relationship and of him. It also seems like Olandria, I wonder if it's shifted her relationship with Taylor a lot to learn that. It does seem like what she has seen since the villa shifted her relationship with Clark. We saw that they left really cool with each other. And she says, "Oh, I actually thought she was handling everything so maturely. I, at the time, was like, I sort of wish she was a mean girl so I could hate her, but she wasn't. I thought she was handling everything so well." But then she came out and she saw that the camera had captured little comments and facial expressions that Clark had made about Olandria seemingly, and that really hurt. And so it seems like she was maybe not in the best place with Clark at that point.
It just would be so brutal to have to watch all of those little things back. I
Yeah.
It's
I know.
all of these things that I'm like, wow, reality television, it's hell to be on a show like
Yeah.
this.
And again, it's so fresh. I can see that being the kind of thing where it really hurts to see, and then maybe
In
down
a
the
few
road,
weeks, you're
you were
even
able to
like,
process
it's
it.
softened. Yeah.
But it must be weird to come out and think like, "Oh, she was always so cool about everything." And it's like, "Oh, it's because she was going into her, like, confessionals and, like, making jokes about me." What else? Shelley, we learned, told Olandria after the recoupling to keep getting to know Taylor because she thought a new connection for Olandria wouldn't be as strong as her connection with Taylor. I thought that was interesting. We don't really the way that she keeps pursuing Taylor is, like, kind of confusing because she seems so over it, and then she's like, "I am gonna keep working on this."
But it does make sense to me because we saw little bits of like Shelley really encouraging the relationship. So this
Yeah.
tracks for me.
Yeah. I do get the sense. I mean, we saw Olandria saying later, like, "I don't think Huda should have cut things off with Chris." And it's like, why? They were a mess. It's like the only relationship that you ever saw anyone wanting to cut off was Huda and Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just like, maybe you're not
Just
together right
stay.
now, but just keep watering it. Just keep watering it. You never know when that little seedling is going to come in handy
I'm
when you
like,
need to
guys,
plant a
no,
new
cut
bush.
that shit.
Yeah. No, I understand that, especially because Olandria and Shelley had not seen as much as we saw about Casa,
Yeah.
and also what Taylor had said about his interest in Olandria before.
Yeah. No, no.
Um,
It was quite obvious that that was only said to Ace and not to anyone
yeah.
else.
But the overall thing that stood out to me is that they keep circling back to how shocked and like upset they were to be seen as mean girls by a big portion of the audience. And they really wanted to like defend themselves. They were like, we were always there to listen to people and comfort people. We were kind of like the glue of the house. And so it's very hurtful that whenever we spoke up for ourselves in any way, that was immediately used to paint us in a really negative light. And it does feel like very racially loaded that happened. And they
Yeah, I
seem
do
very
think
aware of
we
that.
saw like an outsized anger that lingered in a way that it probably might not have had they not been dark-skinned Black women.
Yeah.
I just think we see overall a lot more ease with which the collective can like write off a Black woman's behavior as quote unquote aggressive or mean or harsh. And we definitely saw that with Olandria and Chelley. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they made every perfect decision. No one did, and they didn't. I think both of us had criticisms for them at times. Um, but I don't think that the behavior we did see warranted like the level of anger that
Yeah.
ultimately was thrown their way.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's like you see that there's often a lot of interest in contextualizing or giving grace or being like, let's allow for growth. And there's maybe among a big segment of the audience, it's much more quick to write them off and say, like, oh, they're just bad people. They're just mean. They're just bullies. That like essentializes that as sort of who they are. I mean, I thought that a lot of the moments when they were also seen as being mean were just them kind of speaking bluntly, like kind of like in the moment when Huda asks if she's like a bad person after the Harpy challenge, and Olandria's kind of like, no, but that took it too far. And then
Oh,
she
were
kind of
people mad about that?
those little moments get kind of woven into like a narrative, right? But like
Yeah.
I don't think she was wrong for that. So there are these ways in which like if you or maybe like you're honest, you say like, "Oh, this happened." And you tell Huda's like secret in the stand on business challenge. You know, it gets blown up into this huge character flaw when
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
kind of this small moment.
I did think that was not a good decision. I did think that was kind of mean, but that doesn't mean that Alandria is a mean person. Like, in fact,
Right.
Alandria was consistently one of my favorite people on the show. I just thought that was like maybe a low point for her over the
Yeah.
course of like 2 months. And like, that's again, like, that's not a criticism of her character. Like, people do things that they probably look back on. They're like, oh, I probably could have handled that better. Or like, I was trying
Yeah.
to do X, but the consequence was Y. Like,
Yeah.
and I think the problem that we're identifying is not that, is that like for Black women, often there is a pressure to essentially be like a perfect person, a perfect
Yeah.
reality TV character in order to even receive like a
Yeah.
basic level of grace.
And I got that sense at times from them on the show, like when Alandria talks about needing to be strong, like
100%.
there is this sense that they're aware of that pressure, and they talked about it with Keke in a way that I thought was very open, and it just sucks. Like I like if you don't want people to like do or say the things that Shelley and Olandria did on the show, then you don't want to have a show. So like leave them the fuck alone. Like it's crazy to me. We don't get to talk about whether they made the exact right decision about sharing a secret at a challenge if they don't sometimes do stuff like that. Like this is the stuff of which the show is made. So like let's please calm
We need
down.
to allow people to behave in imperfect ways in
Yeah.
order to have a TV show. And like, I just think that the consequence, people just need to chill the fuck out on the fan side. Like,
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
Like, this is entertaining. You
Yeah.
can have your thoughts, you can have your criticisms. Please stop bullying people.
Yeah. But I
Like,
did really enjoy this interview.
stop
Like
it.
this is one
I
of
did
the
too.
interviews I actually recommend listening to because it's
It
fun
was
and
great.
Keke Palmer is delightful and their dynamic as a threesome is really fun. Um, is there anything we should talk about Sierra's Instagram post.
Yeah, before we move on from all of the post-show drama, we have to talk about Sierra's Instagram post. She posted like an Instagram reel / TikTok of her in a bikini, like a little video with the text, like part of that trend, like you look happier. And then you write, thanks, XYZ thing. Like, thanks, I'm like regularly taking my Zoloft now, or like something like that. And she wrote, you look happier. Thanks. I booked a flight to Mykonos after surviving the villain edit on reality TV. And I didn't end up with the guy who never actually liked me and wanted my friend the whole time.
Oof.
And so a lot to unpack there. But she faced a lot of like, I think we believe, understandable backlash for invoking the term villain edit. Like for me, that is the phrase in here that really like pings something. I personally feel like it's kind of fine for her to be a little petty about Nick, but saying that you got the villain edit is just like untrue.
Words mean things. And I think maybe she is just sort of generally saying, I went on reality TV and then was viewed as a villain. But no, a villain edit is when your relatively normal behavior is, through editing, transformed into something monstrous and everyone hates you. Like,
right. The backlash that you received was predominantly, I'm not going to say exclusively, because I'm sure there were people always get hate throughout any show that they're on. But the majority of the backlash that Sierra received was for her behavior that had nothing to do with being on the show. It was for her repeated use of an anti-Asian racial slur. So that is not the villain edit. That is like hurt and being held accountable for behavior that like did harm.
Right. She was getting like a front runner edit. She was getting a fan fave edit.
I think she would have won. I think she and Nick would have won the show.
And it's not that she never did anything that people didn't like, but I think by the time people started to pick up on these things in a big way in the edit, it was also because she was about to go home because producers had learned about this. And it was like the moment in the Stand on Business challenge when she said like Hannah had 2 connections and was lucky for it. That was a really bad moment to have
people didn't like that.
People didn't like that. But I think the reaction was actually bigger because people knew what had happened off camera. And I think
100%.
Someone can win and be a fan favorite and have unflattering moments shown. They all have unflattering moments shown. So the idea that you had a villain edit is just like absolutely absurd. You had an amazing edit. That's not the problem.
In fact, you were like a darling. In a lot of ways. Not a perfect edit, but like
as close to. Like
you were quite beloved until this history came out.
And then regarding the Nick Olandria stuff, as a human, I certainly understand her feelings, right? I would feel the same way. Like having to take accountability for the horrible things you did does not mean that you are no longer going to have human reactions to like finding out that suddenly the guy that you were with immediately moved on with your best friend. Like you're not going to be like, well, I deserve this and therefore I feel fine about it. But you do have to kind of have enough self-awareness to like probably keep that to yourself. Like no one's going to feel bad for you. Like you're not the victim in the situation in an overarching sense. And so no one's going to feel bad for you. And so it comes off as trying to like throw Nick and Olandria under the bus to curry sympathy for yourself in a way that actually makes her look so much worse that I don't think it's going to work.
Thing. I think Storytime with Ricky was making the argument like, Sierra, just stop talking about the show.
Stop talking about it.
Go post your trip to Mykonos. Like you posted your apology. Great. Go do that work. Never use a racial slur again and like go live your life and like post about your trip to Mykonos. Like stop intentionally inserting yourself into the discourse about this show. Like I cannot imagine that this did any good for her other than like bringing a lot more like hate her way.
Sierra is the other person aside from Huda that I had that just do yourself a favor and stop talking reaction to.
Yeah, I agree.
In the post show. I was like, don't do this.
Hopefully maybe she will do that now.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this episode, Claire, should we talk a little bit, do a little check-in on Love Island Beyond the Villa?
Yes. I am grateful this show exists because it did get me to watch 2 perfect episodes completely out of context, but still perfect episodes of Love Island,
Thank God,
the movie night
because
episodes.
I have been begging Claire to watch a selection. I was like, I will make you a curated list of episodes to watch for season 6. But I do
Ugh,
think the 2 episodes that I sent Claire's way really include a lot because it was the 2 like movie night episodes that I told her to watch.
yeah,
You
and
get a
it's
lot. You
magic
get
in a
like the
bottle.
current dynamics, you get like the some clips
Right.
from the past. So,
It's also wild to see that Kendall, who is such buds with all of the women still in Beyond the Villa, I didn't know any of the context. And so to see the clips of him being like, yeah, yeah, hook up with the other women. Forget Serena, forget Kaylor. Don't think about that. I was like, whoa, they really came back from that. They came
these
back
people
from him
have come
cheerleading
back
their
from
demise.
a lot, and that's why they're
Yeah.
so compelling. So, Beyond the Villa follows like a handful of key cast members from Love Island USA season 6. They reunite for a limited series, spending 2 months in Los Angeles over the summer, a year after they were on this like breakthrough season of Love
Yeah.
Island USA.
It's very much, for a reality TV fan who is more like I previously was watching a lot of like Love Island, Bachelor, the dating shows or the competition shows. It feels a little bit shapeless. Like I remember when I started watching Summer House or like The Real Housewives, I was like, what is the point of this show? They just go to events and fight. It's
Yes.
that kind of show. So,
It is really just like pure fan service for people who really loved these people, me, on season 6 of Love Island USA and wanted to like check in on them and
yeah.
see how they're doing. Like that is what this is.
And they're normally kind of scattered. Like some of them are in LA, but not all of them. I think Kaylor is from Pennsylvania and she just moved to New York. She's very young, right? She's
Yeah.
like 23. Aaron, her ex from the show, lives in the UK. He's from North Devon. Kenny's in Dallas and his girlfriend Janae is in Las Vegas. So like they can't really film a very good reunion show unless they reunited them, I guess. So they
Yeah.
they shipped them all to LA. There are a couple notable absences, mainly Rob, who was presumably filming The Traitor season 4, is like someone you would expect to be in
Yeah. I
in
think
this
they
show.
filmed this right during like the same month, essentially,
Yeah,
that Rob had to be.
I would pick The Traitors too.
Yeah,
You
you
gotta break
obviously
through
have
to
to
a
pick
new
the
fan
Traitors.
base,
The
right?
Traitors is the greatest thing any reality star could do for their
Yeah.
career.
But also this show, as since it is fan service, it's probably not gonna break through to a new audience. Like, if you wanna be, like, making your mark, you gotta branch out. So,
No.
to that point, Cordell only makes guest appearances because he is filming a scripted series, I believe, at the same
Yeah.
time. But we have Leah and Miguel, we have Serena, we have Janae and Kenny, Kaylor. Aaron does come in from the UK because he has nothing else going on but making nature walk videos.
And Aaron already did the Traitors. He was the
Oh,
winner
right.
of the Traitors UK.
Right. I keep forgetting.
That
Yeah.
was his like breakthrough.
That is impressive. We have Kendall, and it seems like Nicole, who was the person he ended up with on Love Island, and then they had a very messy breakup. She will
Terrible.
make an appearance. We have Liv and Connor. So
I was like, Connor? I guess because he just lives in LA and
yeah, I mean, why
Kendall and
not?
Liv hang out with him. I was like, Connor was not a big enough character that I would have assumed he would have been
Yeah.
on the show, but I think he just like is genuinely in that social circle
Well,
and like lives in Los Angeles.
he's also useful because Janae hates him.
Yeah,
And so there's
it is
drama
useful.
there.
We get to watch Janae be petty and like enlist Kenny in being petty.
Yeah, so much pettiness.
Also,
So you
they
have to let
needed-
these people be petty. You can still love them and they can be petty.
Oh my God, we need it
We
because
need it. It's
the thing is,
oxygen.
most of them are actually doing quite well and like not interested in fighting with each other. So we do need at least a small handful of people who are willing to have some conflict with each other.
Right. Like Liv and Kaylor, this really felt like Liv and Kaylor were like, okay, we'll have a fight for a storyline because what was going on here? The fight that they have over glam and a camera, that almost ends their entire friend. I mean, as we leave off in episode 2, which is how much we've been able to watch, they are in an intractable conflict over the fact that Liv told Kaylor that she purchased a camera that actually the store owner had given her. And also, Liv told Kaylor that she wasn't going to get glam, and then she did. Kaylor can no longer trust her. Like, the relationship is
Also,
permanently damaged.
Liv and Kendall were out together with Liv's
Right.
new boyfriend and like
Didn't invite
didn't
Kaylor.
invite Kaylor.
But you know what? Kaylor was getting a spray tan, and you don't go out when you're getting a spray tan because you're all like sticky.
Honestly, I was like, you know what? Liv and Kaylor, thank you for your service.
They did what needed to be done, which was create the most mind-numbing feud. Like, silly enough that it's hilarious to watch these two best friends sitting there, like, screaming at each other at a party because what they're screaming at each other is like, "Are we really going to fight over glam?" And like, "Yes, because you didn't tell me that you are getting glam. I thought we were just going to a bar." Like, it's the most, like, inane thing I've ever heard. At no point am I genuinely worried that they're not going to make up, because how are you this angry about her not telling you that she was
Well, by
getting glam?
episode 2, I was like, okay, there were some other like simmering frustrations here, clearly. Because how are they still fighting about this? This is so dumb.
Well, Kaylor's like, "You can never, ever tell even the smallest white lie to me because I have trust issues, and so you should never tell a white lie to me in any situation, or you're dead to me." Or, like, what if you think that you and your boyfriend aren't going out after dinner, but then you do end up going out? You gotta
And
call
then
me right
Kendall's
away.
there.
You gotta call me right away, or else that's also a lie.
I mean, they are the 2 youngest members of the cast, which makes sense.
No, Kaylor definitely
She and Liv
appears 23.
are both 23.
Really?
Yeah.
Liv, I thought, was older.
You would
Interesting.
think, but no, she is also born in 2002.
Maybe it's just the accent. Maybe I just think people with accents are more mature.
I mean, it does give like more gravitas, I think, as
The
Americans.
gravitas of an
We're just
Australian
like, do
accent.
you have an accent? You're very smart and an authority figure.
There's not many things I know in this life, but one of them is that there are no British children. Every
Yeah.
British person is an adult, and the same is true of Australians.
Facts are fact.
Fascinating. Okay, so yeah, no, I thought that Kaylor was definitely fueling this, and the immaturity was showing a little bit, but also I was like, maybe they just made it up for the plot line. Either
I
way,
don't think they
thank you.
did, unfortunately. But Kaylor is just such like incredible unfiltered television.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, the funniest part, I think, is the way that she kept trying to explain the feud to other people and not seeming aware that it wasn't clicking for them. She's like, as soon as I explained that she said she wasn't getting glam and then she did get glam, they're going to be like, oh shit. And when they don't have that reaction, she doesn't even notice. She's just like, I've made my point. And everyone's looking at her like, what? Okay. Okay, girl.
They also just have a very enmeshed relationship. Like, I hadn't realized that like Kaylor's family essentially made it possible for Liv to come live in the US. Like, she like
Right.
lived with
lived with
Kaylor's
them.
parents for months.
Yeah.
That's very intense. They are
that
essentially they are essentially a family unit. Like, they are essentially sisters.
They fight like sisters. They make up like sisters.
Exactly.
What else happened in these first two episodes? Well, Janae is still mad at Connor for saying she's the most two-faced in the villa during some post-show press. And
Yeah, I guess he made a couple little comments about her in post-show press. I didn't follow the podcast rounds as carefully. Certainly not Connor's, because I
they
wasn't
just keep
interested
playing
in him.
that two-faced comment over and over again.
They clearly have the rights to that because it was like the official Love Island like post-show with Selly.
Got
He
it.
said that on. But I think he made a couple other like small comments. And then also when he recoupled with Leah over Janae, it just like was a rough recoupling on the show. And so I think Janae's perspective is like, you kind of did me dirty, but we moved on. And then for an inexplicable reason, you were like throwing shade at me when you left the
Right.
villa. And I am mad.
Yeah.
Connor says he did apologize to her in the DMs, and then Janae's like, why would I check my DMs? I never saw that.
Well, it's funny that she's like, no, he didn't. And then she's like, well, I don't check them.
It's
So
like, and they show like a screenshot of it.
I do think that she's right that, like, I understand saying, well, if you're going to say the disrespectful thing publicly, then you should apologize publicly. But I also think that maybe you can say that after you hear his private apology. I don't
Yeah.
know, but that's just like a different
It's more
approaches.
just funny. That's
It's
like,
just funny.
it's like a fun level of conflict where Janae is just like, who?
Yeah. Oh,
Kaylor, don't make me laugh. You think I'm going to Connor's birthday?
We
Who
just
is
happened
that?
to have a bowling date that night. It's so strange. Um, and also Kaylor and Aaron have to face each other for the first time. So the episodes that I'm watching of the original show, they're obviously in huge conflict because he does all this stuff and says all this stuff in Casa. And then he came right back and told her that he loved her. And
Yes.
then she sees movie night. She sees all this stuff that he was doing just a couple days before.
Yeah, which he had told her like part truths about, but had downplayed it.
The amount of conversations that I watched where people were like, he said, what if we went to the shower? And she's like, yes. And can you believe he said that? And they were talking about me. And I was like, what? These sentences are not adding up into an explanation of the situation. I need to go back and watch even more Love Island season 6. I watched a lot of
you'll love every
confusing
moment.
arguments.
I know. I knew I was throwing you in, but I was like, this is just the best. You're going to get like the vibes.
No, I got a lot of the vibes. But so at this point, they're on the outs. But my understanding is that they did end the show together.
They did. They ended the show together. They were sent home by the public, like in the same slot as Chelley and Ace. So they were a very strong couple who was sent home before the finale. But they were like, we won. We left together. They did date after. Basically, after there were a lot of instances during the show where the public was like, Aaron's behavior towards Kaylor is like not good. This doesn't feel healthy. There were still things that had happened during Casa that weren't like fully owned up to. And so once Kaylor came out and was hearing feedback from like friends, family, watching everything back, they ultimately ended the relationship. It just like couldn't withstand the weight of the experience that they had had.
Right. And then we saw clips of the reunion where she goes at him pretty hard about
even
how
though they
he
were
hurt
together
her.
at that point. They were like
Really?
they were spending they were like spending, that's when they ended.
Okay. Got
because
it.
they were like together in New York before that, like sharing a room. It was very dramatic, and they both suffered like quite a lot of fallout, and they're both clearly like still grappling with it a year later.
Yeah, this was tough to watch. I mean, and the weird thing for me is that not having seen much of what Aaron did.
Oh, I bet you felt so bad for him. I mean, I
it's
did see what
I was
he
like,
did.
I'm sure there was a reason for the stuff that he did, but it still seems like, people deserve to take accountability for things and move on with some sense of like love and safety in their lives. So it still felt like he was so shaken after a year. He looked really like behind his eyes. He looked haunted. And I was like, I don't really wish that for many people. Maybe some people, but like for a level of something beyond what you might do on a reality show generally. Like maybe Jax Taylor. But like aside from like Jax Taylor, you have to do more than kind of a reality show level thing for me to want to see you that beaten down a year later.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like with Aaron, where like he did behave really badly on the show. I think like I certainly did not want Kaylor to be with him. I was like, this is not really a healthy relationship. And like, there's not really honesty. And there were patterns of like semi-gaslighting and just him sort of wanting to move through and not have her react in those ways. It's like he wanted to be like, I did that, but blah, 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 blah. Like sort of, he didn't really want to grapple with her feelings and like fully work through the issues or like face the consequences. And it got very toxic. And yet seeing this it did make me really sad. I was like, I think he did actually the healthy thing, which is like, he basically says he completely signed off social media. He was spending time with like family. He's not dated in a year. He has basically just shut himself off from the public. And you can see the way that he is like tiptoeing back in and is very shaken.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that it's good that he shut out the world, and I don't know why he returned, maybe just because he does have to make a living and, like, reality TV is part of that, but, like, it doesn't seem like he wants to be there. It doesn't seem like he wants to talk to Kaylor about what happened. When she asks if he wants to, like, go somewhere more private and talk about things, like, to her place, he gets, like, weird, like, she's trying to hook up with him. It just seems like he feels really uncomfortable even being there,
Yeah,
and I get
it's
that.
sad.
I would totally understand just being like, "I can't kind of move forward and continue to grow in this setting. I need to be elsewhere." But if he did come back, I would hope to see him in a place, which it doesn't seem like he's ready to be in, where he's able to be like, "I did all these things that were not right, and I'm sorry, and I take accountability, and, like, I'm just moving differently now. Like, I have a different approach to these situations that I feel some level of, like, confidence in, and not just feeling like everyone thinks I'm a terrible person and, like,
Yeah.
I don't know who I
I
am
I
anymore."
agree, and I'm interested to see how things go as the show progresses and as he maybe gets more comfortable in the environment
Yeah.
again. Um, but as of now, yeah, it's tough to watch. I also felt like Connor was making it so much worse, being like, "Dude, you got to just like hook up with girls," and he's like, "I
Yeah,
don't
it's like,
want
I don't want
to."
he's like, "I'm just here so I don't get fined, and I get my paycheck from Peacock.
Yeah, he's
I'm
like, "I
not
am
here to
showing
hook
up, but
up
I
with
will
women on
not be
camera."
just like going and having sex with a bunch of women. That's just not going to be good for me."
Right. That's
Did
not
you
gonna
notice
repair
that
his
one of the
image.
women he was flirting with, Sydney, I think she was on like Temptation Island,
Okay, thank you. I definitely recognized one of them, and I was like, I could not
right?
place her.
I think it's Temptation Island. I That was my best guess, but I was like, I know this woman.
I was like, I've definitely seen this woman on a TV show, but I couldn't
What?
place
Maybe it
her.
wasn't Temptation Island.
But I also was like, I bet that there are lots of hot women in LA who have been like some sort of bombshell or something on some sort of dating show that I have seen.
I know. I was like, was it F Boy Island? Like, was it like,
Yeah, maybe, or F Girl
I mean,
Island,
F Girl
rather.
Island?
Yeah. I don't know. One of them definitely looked very familiar. I would have to
It
do a
was
little digging.
Sydney.
Yeah, but like, what show was she on?
I really was like, maybe it's Temptation Island. Mm.
Unfortunately, Sydney is also the name of a city in Australia, which is really confounding my Google search results for Sydney reality dating show. Anyway, Kaylor's side of things was also really sad. Like, she seems a little bit more prepared to face Aaron, I think, because she came out of that situation feeling a little more like he hurt me and then I took back my power and like I'm moving on stronger and more sure of like what I can ask for in a relationship. But she's also like, I'm less happy and less okay than I was before I went on the show.
I thought that was so sad and also so honest and actually like
Yeah.
not something that we usually hear people who are like presented with this kind of insta fame willing to admit. But I also
Yeah.
think it's probably not so uncommon.
Especially only a year after. Like maybe she will
Right.
be one of those people who in like 5 years is like, it was like therapy. I came out better than ever and stronger and knowing myself better. But like she's clearly still kind of in the thick of it. And also, I do think that like a traumatic and exposing situation like that can prompt growth and reckoning. And it also can just kind of shred you a little bit. It can leave
Or
you,
both.
yeah, or both. Maybe sometimes they go together, like get torn down and then you build back stronger. But that doesn't always mean that it's like the best thing. It's not
Or
always
that
like
you're super
it's so good that I
happy.
did it. Now I'm
Yeah.
happy because I got like shredded on national television and
She's
have to
also
pick up the
only
pieces.
23.
Yeah. But
It's
it
just,
was, and
it
then
was like sad and honest. And I thought really, I don't know, I found that very just an interesting moment.
yeah. But the Powerpuff Gang and their men seem like great.
Thriving. PPG, I love them so much. Obsessed with them.
I see it. Like, I had only heard about them, really. I'd seen, like, very minimal clips, and, like, they're just so charming. I
They
was, like,
are
immediately
beyond.
won over.
Oh my God. Just you can't help but love them. All three of them.
Yeah.
Leah, Serena, Janae. Love them. I love that their men are all like thriving, but also happy to sort of be a little bit the like supporting characters to their ladies.
I guess Cordell is sort of the main character in his own work project at this point because
Well,
he's off
yes,
filming
they're all
somewhere.
thriving
But
in their
yeah.
individual lanes, but I think they all came out knowing like my partner was the star of this season.
Right. Yeah. And they all seem like they're just doing pretty great. And Miguel and Leah are like riding horses.
They're like, we're going to get married. I just don't know when.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. Also, I just always think about Miguel and Louis being like the most like power, like friendship power couple of reality TV.
Wait, speaking of news and gossip, did you see the pap shot of Louis holding hands with Huda?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there
What's going
because
on?
Louis is also on the new season of Perfect Match. So there's like a lot going on with
God.
Louis.
What if they put Huda on Perfect Match?
No. This was filmed like a year and a half ago.
No, I mean like what if they put her on a future season? I'm just
God.
stressing. I think she needs to stay
no.
off reality TV for a while. Anyway, that's a sidebar. I don't have anything to say about that because I just saw a photo and was like, what?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. But my main takeaway is just that Miguel is so handsome and charming and he loves Leah so much. And I love it
I
so
know,
much.
it's
And
so
Cordell and
sweet.
Serena are so cute. And Janae and Kenny are so cute.
I
And
really
feel
like Janae. I think Janae is the one that I
love
knew
her.
the least about because Serena and Cordell like won the season. I was hearing
Yeah.
more about the drama of their relationship. Like it was a relationship that spanned like the whole season, right? So I had heard a
Yes.
little bit about their relationship. I had heard about Leah's dramas. I hadn't heard as much about Janae. She was always kind of like the third one in the trio that I didn't know about. She's like so charming. I love her.
I was going to say that we actually, like, this show is really nice because I think Janae and Kenny, you know, they got together a little later, like around the same time as Leah and Miguel, but like because there was so much going on in the season, sometimes they were a little bit relegated to the background. We didn't get to see quite as much of them. And so I've been really enjoying getting to see more of their relationship. I just think it's like very sweet. There's clearly like a deep mutual adoration there. And Janae is such a wonderful, like friends with everyone, a peacemaker. I loved seeing her being like, I am going to be the big sister here and make Liv and Kaylor sit down and talk this shit out.
I know. Every friend group needs that.
I love her.
She has that like the way that she's like, I'm gonna be honest and say that I'm petty and I will never forgive Connor unless like God tells me I have to, and that's fine. But Liv and Kaylor do have to forgive each other. And like
It's so cute.
I'm like, yeah, you hold your relationship with Connor to a different standard as you should. Like, don't be afraid. Like she's just like putting it out
and she's
there.
so like upfront about it. She's
I
like, this is what
know.
it is. These are my people. Liv
She's
and
like,
Kaylor
I
are
know
like,
what matters, and I am going to set out to pursue that agenda in a straightforward and likable way.
the whole thing is just like very sweet. It's also sweet to see Kendall's close relationship with both Liv and Kaylor. And I don't know, I'm just enjoying seeing the gang back together, and like it is reminding me of the true magic in a bottle that was last season of Love Island USA.
Yeah.
So I will keep watching.
Maybe next season of Love Island USA will. Maybe it won't recapture this magic, but this did give me just like a hope for a season like that I would feel basically good at the end. Like it would take you on the journey, the highs and lows. Your faves would act badly and then they make up, but then at the end you just like feel pretty good about it. I want that next summer.
I think we all really deserve that.
Yeah.
And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by John Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and of course, spread the word to all of your friends about Love to See It.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter, Rich Text, on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey: Eric Donnelly, Aaron Constantino, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, Carly Snyder, and Hillary Shook.
We'll be back next week.
Can you keep